So there's going to be 2 honorable game mentions from this list this year, and those are going to be Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom and also Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, neither of which I was able to finish before making this list. I've been pretty lazy these last few months. Both are very solid games. I think Echoes of Wisdom is definitely an honorable mention, as I think the structure of the game and its terrible UI would probably stop it from making the list had I finished it. But man, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is shaping up to be an absolute all-timer for me. I tend to get overwhelmed by immersive sims. They're just too many options for me, but giving me a North Star that says act like Indiana Jones is just the ultimate way to get me to focus up all my energy, and it's just such a great game that has all these little systems that just culminate to create that indie experience. And once I'm finished with it, I'm betting it's going to rank highly among this year's offerings for me. So the first game I want to talk about, my number 10 on the list, is another Xbox game that is bound to come to PlayStation eventually. That's right, I am of course talking about Halo Infinite. By the way, this is a good time to mention that my Game of the Year list isn't really bound by the year 2024, but just by what I played for the first time in 2024. So Halo Infinite, from a gameplay perspective, such a good time. That's why it's on this list. The gunplay, the grapple hook, the boss encounters, to quote Todd Howard,
it just works.
What's keeping it from being any higher on the list is kind of the story context behind what's happening in the story, because except for the new addition of the new Cortana, or as I like to call her, New Tana, I could not tell you what happens inside of this video game at all. I remember that Octane is there from Apex Legend and he's sad about his family. I remember that there's a red brute that's like, oh my gosh, it's Master Chief, I'm going to kill you because this is a Halo video game. And then there's a brute that's there but not there, but in the lore, but not in the lore, but in another game, but not in another game, that is just there in an end credit scene to be like, hey, here's an expansion DLC for this new enemy race that's just never going to come out for this game. 343, in my opinion, has never really truly nailed the Halo story correctly. They have a lot of love for these characters, but I think their love is pointed in the wrong direction and not pointed in the direction that North Star of that original Bungie Halo games should be pointed at. I think the Unreal Engine 5 days for this new Halo Studios is a good chance for a reset for this legacy of post-Bungie Halo, and I'm really excited to see where they go. So number 9 is going to be here as a marker, like Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
This tablet is one of those markers.
And that is Portal with ray tracing, Portal with RTX. So I finally built my own computer this year, and one of the goals I had when I was building it was to be able to play games that had like some amounts of ray tracing and just not have anything blow up. And so I turned on the game and nothing blew up and I was able to play it and it was sick. It's one of the highlights for me for sure to be able to say that I built my own computer this year that can run a game that has ray tracing in it. So that's why it's on the list. Portal's an all-timer. Not much to really say outside of that. Now, what could possibly be better than playing a cool new game on your cool new computer that you just built? It's being able to stick it to the man, to say, I'm not going to pay you $60, Mark Cerny, to be able to play this PlayStation multiplayer game. The PlayStation multiplayer game in question is, actually, that sounds like I'm talking about Helldivers 2. Helldivers 2 is another honorable mention, but the game I'm actually talking about is Marvel Rivals, aka Marvel Watch, the Overwatch clone 6v6 hero shooter with Marvel characters. It's great. It's broken. I play the worst character in Wolverine, but even playing the worst character in Wolverine, I still have moments where like I've absolutely demolished like 5 people. I've gotten like a quad, or you know, whatever a quad is, but for 5, a fury kill or whatever it is. I really do enjoy it. I have a great time with my friends. Everyone is a little bit busted, so therefore no one's busted. Or it's like the Incredibles quote.
And when everyone's super, no one will be.
And it's a great time. I'm looking forward to playing more of it in 2025. And so, yeah, that's all there is to it. Play Balatro. That's all I gotta say. Play Balatro. Taking up the number 6 slot on this list is actually what has the potential to be on the number 1 slot for this list, but instead it's fallen into the middle brackets simply because it reaches a point where it has terribly grating pacing, and that is Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. The first half of this game, all the way up until the gang gets to Gongaga,
Me? Gungaga.
is probably my favorite stretch of gameplay that I've played this year. The combat, the characters, the open world, the Queen's Blood, the music. Side note, some friends and I went to the symphony concert of this music a little while ago during their world tour, and it was insane. But all of this is the finest example of an entire team just moving full steam ahead, making everything with an outpouring of love that they clearly have for the source material, with the faith that all that they will make will resonate with the fans. My problem with the game is a problem that I had with Remake the first time I played Remake, which is around halfway through, the pacing just gets totally jacked up, and it never really recovers until the very end of the game. I truly love this game, but the second half of the game, I was just like, please let it be over. Please let it be over. Please let it speed up. And it's like, sure, this is, it's just pacing problems, you might be saying. But like, pacing affects everything. It makes everything feel far more tedious than it has to. And it just drags the overall vibe and momentum of what you're trying to do down. And it sucks. I hope that when I inevitably replay this game in a couple years before part 3 comes out, that I feel differently, because I really would like to. In 5th place is the DLC for Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erdtree. That's right, I'm one of those degenerates that puts DLCs on my Game of the Year list. My hot take with Elden Ring is that I just don't really love Elden Ring, and Shadow of the Erdtree is on this list, more so despite being an Elden Ring DLC, rather than because it's an Elden Ring DLC. Elden Ring is just too big, it's too wide for my brain to comprehend, and I'd rather play games with more limited scopes that are more focused, like Bloodborne and Sekiro, where progression and difficulty are more finely and intentionally tuned. What I love about Shadow of the Erdtree is all of the cool new dungeon arenas, all of the wonderful and dreamlike areas that you're exploring in the Land of Shadow, and all the amazing bosses. I mean, Mesmer the Impaler is one of my favorite bosses From Software has ever made. Shadow of the Erdtree is here because Hidetaka Miyazaki and the team are constantly learning, constantly growing, and pouring all of that knowledge and experience into making the coolest thing you've ever seen. And I can't wait to see what new thing they're cooking up. Night Rain looks like a cool spin-off, but it's that new sound, that new formula that I'm really looking for From Software, and I can't wait to see what it is. On a brighter note, like a physically brighter note because of all the bioluminescence, is Ori and the Will of the Wisps. I said my own piece in its own solo review, but seriously, they put a grapple hook in that game, and that's not even like the third coolest thing in that game. The coolest thing in that game is the Jabba the Hutt frog. I mean, let's tell the truth right now. All right, ladies and gents, we are now playing with the big boys now. At number 3 is Jeff's favorite game of the year, Astro Bot. To repeat myself, I've already spoken at length about Astro Bot in its own video, which I'll link in the description. Merch link in bio. But this game is a seriously good time and is such a wonderful game to control, to play. I need to go back and start speedrunning. In second place is where I'm placing the In Memoriam category for this year, because it just doesn't feel right bringing up Destiny 2 The Final Shape in a positive light without the backdrop that so many people that made the expansion what it is are no longer working at that studio. Destiny 2 The Final Shape might very well be the best thing that Bungie's ever made for Destiny. It's the best story they've ever put into Destiny, with the best character work they've ever done, pulling years worth of story beats to satisfying conclusions and resolutions. It has some incredible, worthy additions to the sandbox in the new Dread enemy race and the Prismatic subclass. And what's awful about all of that stuff is that it wasn't enough to stop years of bad executive decision-making from catching up to them. I haven't played much Destiny 2 since July, my longest ever break, and I think things are honestly going to stay that way until some serious change happens that allows all of us to hope for the future of this game again. This list has gone under a lot of change in the past month, 2 weeks, 24 hours, 15 minutes, whatever you want to say. but my favorite game this year has remained the same for the past 8 months, and that is Animal Well. So Metroidvanias are sick, and a puzzle Metroidvania where you play fetch with dogs and you can get crushed by chinchillas and you can chill with capybaras. I mean, what part of that you're hearing doesn't sound appealing to you? I've only dipped my toe into the deep well that is Animal Well, in its deep puzzles that you have to apparently do real life stuff with, and I can't wait to seek those secrets out in the next year and really see how deep of a well this well truly is.